ღამის პირველი საათი დაიწყო. 2025 წელი ქართული MMA-ის ისტორიაში ბევრი დასამახსოვრებელი მომენტით შევა. Merab Dvalishvilis მიერ ზედიზედ 3-ჯერ დაცული სუპერმსუბუქი წონის ქამარი და მოულოდნელი მარცხი Petr Yan-თან. Ilia Topurias მიერ მოპოვებული აწუყვე მეორე UFC ქამარი. Alexandre Topurias წარმატებული დებიუტი ორგანიზაციაში და ბევრი სხვა რამ. წლის მთავარი მოვლენები მიმოვიხილეთ წამყვან MMA ანალიტიკოსთან Ilia Topuria-სთან ერთად. თუ გსურთ ინტერვიუს ქართულად მოსმენა, გადადით პარამეტრებში და მიუთითეთ ქართული ენა. When it comes to mixed martial arts, 2025 was quite a unique year, I think. And who's better to talk and kind of help us make sense of it all than one of the most knowledgeable and keen-eyed people in the sport and one half of the morning combat duo. And of course, the absolute pro when it comes to MMA trivia, Luke Thomas, the one and only.
So shameful, my trivia ability in MMA. But we're talking about very quickly a game show in MMA called Main Card Minute. And I did the very first episode, which at the time did all kinds of trivia. And I did real well in every trivia category not named MMA, but as I've said before, if you do podcasting where you kind of just focus on the top end of MMA over and over again, you do it for over a decade, everything just blurs, and I cannot recall where and when things happened, or even in certain cases that they happened. But thank you for having me, Justin.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. It's beginning to look a lot of like Christmas, and there's only like about, I think, a week left, right? Do you have any plans?
I am gonna take a vacation with my family for Christmas. Actually,
oh, really?
We're actually not gonna. Yeah, we're not gonna spend Christmas at home. We're gonna go overseas and visit my wife's family for the first. Well, I mean, we've seen them a million times, but never for Christmas. It'll be my first time, so doing that for Christmas. So.
Oh wow!
It should
Colombia?
be fun. Yeah, it should be fun. Yep. Mm-hmm.
What's weather like there right now?
Depends where you go. If you go to the coast where it's close to the equator, it's hot 24/7. But it's kind of funny, right? If you actually watch the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, the movie opens and it says Bogota, Colombia, and it's like there's like a ceiling fan that's slowly spinning and everyone's kind of swelteringly hot, and that's just completely inaccurate. It's nearly 8,000. I think it's actually more than 8. Yes, it's almost 9,000 feet into the air.
Oh wow!
It's a little chilly. It's about 50 plus. I mean, I'm not sure what the Celsius would be, but it's about 50 plus degrees. A little rainy, a little chilly. You need a jacket. Not cold, but it's everyone just associates it with heat and tropicality. Yeah. That's a part of the coast, obviously, but not really in many other places.
Well, I hope that you enjoy your Christmas, and especially in such a cool place. Anyways, but moving on to MMA side of things, and I've mentioned that I want to talk to you about the Georgian MMA, but before that, kind of seems like a promotional malpractice to not ask you about global MMA and like in general. Think about 2025. What will be the first thing that you will remember about this year? The most significant memory, I guess, that you can say.
I have to tell you, I don't want to. It's a very American thing to kind of just Americanize all news and all perspectives. But I think in this case, it actually might be a little bit helpful, which is when I think of 2025, it was pretty similar to 2024, including for the Georgians too, right? I mean, Merab did have the loss at the end there, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. But other than that, he had a phenomenal year.
Yeah.
Ilia only fought once, but it was pretty great. I mean, and he obviously had those two great wins in 2024. Like, it wasn't super distinct from that. Maybe you could say 2024 had UFC 300, and so therefore it had maybe a little bit more of a more memorable event. Okay, fair enough. But they
also 306 with the sphere and stuff.
Yep, that's right. But they didn't seem to me necessarily all that distinct. What I would say, though, is the end of the ESPN era for UFC and then their move to Paramount, I think this portends a lot of changes in the future for the sport already. No pay-per-view here in this market, and I think that's going to expand to other markets as well. That's a big one. 2, they're moving it back earlier a little bit, so 9 p.m. for some of these numbered events. And you're starting to see that they might play with some location a little bit. I think what I'm trying to say is 2025 represented to me maybe the close of a particular kind of era that we've been in a little bit. So 25, not super distinct from 24, but as a more broad bookend, I think we're about to enter a new phase of MMA with some growth, some decline. But what I am saying is expect a lot of changes. I don't think that I think in the year ahead, there's going to be a lot of different pieces moving in a few different directions.
Oh, that's cool. And that's a very nice outlook to kind of have going into the new year, I think. Yeah, new year, new me, new MMA, whatever. Yeah.
I never know how real those things are, but they seem to be like a helpful way of thinking about things, right?
You always kind of want to, keep a positive outlook and hope for the best, I guess, for the sport and for all of our sakes, I guess. But yeah, you mentioned the things that you were mentioning about Georgian MMA for sure. The word that I had in mind when thinking about just kind of this year in Georgian MMA, it was bittersweet. So when I say bittersweet, I mean like Ilia began the year as a featherweight champion, and then he vacated his belt, so that was a little bit, rocky over there. And then he wins the title, and then he never, unfortunately, gets to defend it. Merab as well, right? Three great wins. He even gets the finish over O'Malley. Like things get so high, but then we get to this end of the year and such a disappointing loss. On the other hand, we had Alexandre Topuria making his debut, and he went 2-0, undefeated in the UFC. But then we had Giga losing twice this year, and Roman Dolidze getting obliterated by a man named Fluffy. So that probably didn't feel well. That didn't feel great.
If I may, though, I mean, listen. Let's be honest about this for a minute. Georgia is punching above its weight, like maybe more than any other country. When I think, listen, the United States is, for the most part, probably going to always have it. The United States has produced less champions than it ever did. But, it's a big place. It's going to produce a lot of athletes. It's just going to be a big part of it. Brazil, pretty similar too. I mean, there's other countries you can pick at that perform these kinds of ways. Like, they're always going to be relevant. But, like, what's a small country that's like outperforming people in massive ways? France, right? We got the World Cup coming up this summer. France is one of these places that is a athletic powerhouse in so many ways. And dude, Georgia's running laps around them. I mean, it's not a direct head-to-head competition.
Yeah, obviously.
France has good fighters. Like, I can't wait to see. They haven't even, I think, begun to scratch the surface of what they can do. But as it stands, like, Georgia is punching above its weight. And the other thing I would say about it specifically is, one, like, this is MMA. You're not going to win them all. Just, you have to understand that. Losing to Fluffy, okay, it doesn't sound great, but Fluffy's really good.
Oh, he's so good.
He's so really good. I mean, did Dolidze lose to some chump? No, he did not. And Merab lost, and Yan won, which I didn't see coming. They have fought before, and Merab, cleaned his clock. But Yan had to turn in like an insanely special performance to beat him, and Merab didn't need to take that fight. He could have not taken 100%. That fight and honestly been fighter of the year based on who he had defeated. He was chasing a level of greatness that no one had ever achieved in the entirety of MMA at the highest level. It never even been done. 4 title defenses in the UFC in a year. That's unprecedented. So it's not like these guys are like, oh, they're just failing to launch. These are guys that are chasing big-time dreams, big-time goals, and fighting other really good fight. Dude, if you fight really good fighters enough, you're going to lose. But Georgia is absolutely punching above its weight.
Lovely. Thank you so very much for saying that, because it's one thing when I try to explain that to some of the MMA fans, because obviously, they're heartbroken and they're disappointed. It's someone like you who says it. I think they're going to take that with a little bit more seriousness, I think. But the fact that you kind of touched up on it, I would like to continue talking about the Yan and Merab fight. There's still, I kind of get the sense, again, it was very disappointing for the Georgian fans, especially given how the first fight went, right? It was such a stark contrast. But still, kind of the sentiment that I'm getting is that most people and most fans are still thinking that the only reason why Petr Yan won was because it was the fourth fight for Merab. There was the 4th training camp, the 4th weight cut. And I'm kind of getting the sense, and that is my personal opinion, that it's one of the reasons, but not the only reason. That the weight cut obviously played a role. I think it would be silly for us to deny it, right? But maybe there's more than meets the eye. And I absolutely loved the kind of in-depth dive that you did on that fight and your perspective on it. And if you could just kind of share with us just kind of how you saw that rematch going, what were the key differences?
I think it's really important. I mean, there's a lot of times where I've predicted someone will win and they don't, or even in certain cases, you know, I'll have a preference for one fighter over another. And when they lose, surprisingly, it can sometimes be hard to take the right lesson from it. You know, everyone wants to be like, okay, let's learn from what went wrong here and then see if that can't inform our judgment going forward. But sometimes that can be a little tougher than some might expect, or it can take a little bit more honesty than people want to have with themselves. I'm fully in agreement with you, which is, I mean, listen, the guy was trying to do something physically to his body that is deeply inadvisable, and there's a reason why no one had done it before, because it's brutal to even try. And you know, and the other part too is he's going to be 35 here, I think in February, if my math is correct.
January.
Like that. Yeah, January. Right. I mean, that is. I'm not going to say old for bantamweight, but it sure as hell ain't young.
Knocking on that door.
Yeah, you got to kind of confront some of these factors. However, I really think that the major takeaway is, while that is an important contributing factor, the bigger one to me is that Yan solved him, at least for that night. I mean, maybe not permanently, but certainly for that night he did. They had a very keen sense of what conditions do we have to establish so that Merab can't get going, because the reality is you cannot beat Merab on labor. Like, what Merab tends to do is just get a hold of you with some kind of body lock. He'll pick up a leg. He might get the takedown, he might not, but it just begins an offensive control position cycle. And then once that gets going and he can just lean into it, he just makes you work. And he has an infinite, seemingly anyway, an infinite gas tank upon which to just make that the contest. So, for example, when he fought Yan the first time, first of all, he got 11 takedowns, which is a lot, but he attempted 49 of them. 40. This is like, I don't know if I've ever seen a higher number in a 5-round fight. And I've been watching this sport a long time. I mean, it's just absurd what he was trying to do. That is, I've been wondering for a long time, like, how do you beat a guy like that? How do you beat a guy with basically infinite labor capacity? And it wasn't really clear to me what the answer was, but Yan figured it out. What they figured out was, one, you do have to defend the takedowns. Like if you cannot defend the takedowns, it's basically impossible to win. You're not going to defend 100% of them, but it needs to be a lot. And he only gave up 2, I think, out of more than 20 attempts in the rematch. And there was no control time. He didn't actually like meaningfully use it once he got the takedown. But that is only part of the answer. The real answer was they got right in Merab's face. They put jabs in his face. They put jabs to the body. They backed him up early and often. They were the ones setting the tone. And a lot of times guys are so defensively a little bit scared of Merab, maybe not so much the punching power, but just like the offense just doesn't stop. There's no umbrella and it's a downpour. That's what it feels like when you're fighting Merab. And their solution was, we cannot wait for that. If we wait for that, then we're reacting to him. So what you'll notice that they do is a lot of different things, but a big part is they jab with him. And you'll notice he keeps his hand up, right? Like Yan had his hand up. They were parrying the shot coming through, and they were jabbing with him, because that is when they could have the maximum amount of punishment that they could deliver. He is more defensively vulnerable, and it's not letting his offensive cycle get going. And so it's damage, it's setting up other shots, and it's stopping his offensive rhythm before it starts. So there's the takedown defense component, there's the body kicking component, there's the checking of the legs component, so Merab couldn't go and leg kick him. There's a few things, but just listen to what I'm saying. Dude, you have to accept Petr Yan is a world-class elite fighter, and that dude did his homework. I respect it, and I think anybody who wants Merab to come back and beat him, you need to know what you're up against, and you're up against a very good fighter.
Actually, yeah, with his parrying thing, I remember we were watching, and we couldn't quite figure out what Yan was doing, because I thought that his nose got broken, because Merab also threw a couple of good jabs. I actually have to give him credit for that. And when Petr was like holding his hand like this, I was like, is his nose broken? Like, what is he doing? But yeah, he was parrying it in a strange way. I don't think, has he ever done that before? That was the first time that I've actually noticed it.
You know who that reminded me of? It reminded me of Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford, if you go back and you watch like his breakout win, I mean, well, it depends what you mean his breakout win, but one of his breakout wins was the Errol Spence fight. I was there, and you'll notice that what he does is, yeah, I mean, truly a masterpiece, and in part because he fought the entire stance in his second stance, not even his first one. But you'll notice he has the backhand up, because he also, for different reasons, obviously it's boxing, but he also wanted to jab with Spence when he could. So he had that backhand. Now, he didn't have it on this side. He had it more on this side. But it's a similar kind of concept of, this was the other part too. Merab, he has a few range-finding things. You're right. He actually does have a pretty decent jab. I thought Jan's was better this time, but he certainly had his moments. But he's also got that front kick. And you'll notice that Yan never lets him have it. That backhand is parrying it down the whole time. So this is, again, stopping offense before it gets started, and then never even letting him accumulate small amounts of damage to the body that could slow him down at all. It was negate all of it. And it takes a very skilled operator to pull that off.
Leg kicks were one of the biggest differences, I think, from the first fight to the second one. And it's just so fascinating to me, man, just to watch these teams and these coaches. It's not just these two fighters that are battling it out. It's just more, because when you watch the Petr Yan's coach's interview, when he shows this, like, the entire algorithm that they've built around Merab's game, and they were like, if he does this, we do this. And they've been working on that for years, clearly. And I feel like if I'm Merab Dvalishvili, if I see that, I take that as a freaking compliment, that somebody's out there, like working and spending years on like studying me, and like learning everything that I do just to counter me and just to kind of figure it out, how to solve for me. Because yeah, if somebody's doing that about my job, that's how I know that, hey, mama, we've made it.
Well, I mean, and I would say two things to that, if I may, very quickly. First, I don't know how you beat Merab without doing that, to be honest with you. Like, what are you going to do? You're just going to go in there and wing it? Like,
yeah, good luck.
Good luck. Good luck. It's absurd. I'm literally laughing. It's absurd to even say. And then the other part is, as incredible as that was, it's kind of funny. I know that a lot of Europeans don't even pay attention to or care about American football, nor am I asking you to. But one thing you have to really appreciate about it, once you really understand it, and like one of the ways it is distinct from rugby, is that it's a constant stop-start game. There's the plays last very brief moments and then they restart. And some people like that, some don't. But what you have to understand is that lends itself to schematics and formations. It gives you a hyper ability to constantly play with it, both offensively and defensively. And you should see, like for wide receivers, these are the guys that catch the ball. They have what they call route trees. So they know exactly if he moves this way, you're going this way. And if he stops here, you keep going. And this is all super complicated. The ball has to be out on time. It's all these different little pieces. They have these kinds of things figured out. They do tape study. They have whole scouting teams that do nothing but tape study all the time and then come up with, this is going to be our offensive schemes. Here's what you're looking for on this guy, blah, blah, blah. So like as impressed as I was that this coach did it, honestly, I feel like he is kind of setting a new standard for like, if y'all want to be good, all of y'all need to be doing this. That's kind of the message that I got.
And I think Ilia mentioned the same thing on one of the podcasts that he did. I think we can kind of say that maybe that's kind of where the sport is going, and maybe that's the future, I guess.
It has to be. I mean, anybody who can get an edge by paying people to do research that people typically don't even do, much less do very well, is going to confer enormous benefit, especially to somebody as good as Ilia or Merab or whoever picks somebody really, really good. That is going to be especially useful to them. I mean, again, they're going to. This is what I mean. These guys punch above their weight. Like these guys are setting a new standard for what excellence looks like. Not everyone has the money necessarily to afford all of these, but you're getting a sense of, if you are a champion in the UFC, welcome to your new standard. It looks like this.
But also on the other hand, you kind of need to have a fighter who is able to then you kind of, bring it all to life. Because it's one thing when you study for a guy and you prepare and you can create all the game plans, but we also know that, there are some fighters that once they get punched in the face, game plan goes out the window, and it's hard to follow up. I mean, because then you have to kind of make adjustments. Because again, I just remember the fight with Umar, right? Because in the beginning, Merab had some trouble getting him down, taking him down, but then he was able to make those small adjustments. Why do you think that didn't work with Yan?
He had way too many answers. Also, Umar got put into that offensive cycle. So there are two basic problems. Okay. Umar Nurmagomedov and Usman Nurmagomedov, they have many of the same strengths and many of the same weaknesses. They're both very well rounded. They can do everything. They can fight at range. They've got phenomenal takedowns. They've got great back control. They got good submissions too when they need them. But they're well rounded. But there's a fatal flaw in both of their games, and this is not a flaw in Jan's, which is they don't really have pop and they don't really engage like in the pocket like that in a kind of serious and sustained way. Yan does. In fact, that's exactly what Yan wanted to do. I'm going to strike with you. I'm going to jab with you. I'm going to be right there in your face, both leading the dance and then answering back immediately. And that's not the game those two guys play. So what ended up happening with Umar in the fight with Merab is he ended up having to play just a controlled labor game. Dude, you cannot play that with Merab. It just doesn't work. He's got it. He's just also Merab's. This is one of the things that people don't talk enough about Merab. His takedown defense is outrageous. It's actually better than his takedowns. And I think Umar ran into a bit of a brick wall with that. He couldn't ever get it going, so he was kind of just always defensively laboring. Who's going to win that battle? It's going to be Merab 10 times out of 10.
Do you subscribe to that notion that he wrestles less?
He does wrestle less.
Really?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. If you can check out the work of Open Note Grappling, it's on. Yeah. He measured it. He measured it. He looked at it. He does wrestle less. He strikes a little bit more. To me, it's a function of age. Again, we're talking about a guy who had an outrageous amount of wrestling that's coming down to earth a little bit. It's still super high, but is that a true thing? Yes, that's a true thing.
In case of Petr, it might have been because of, he stopped a lot of those takedowns too.
And the jabbing, like for folks who don't know, a good double leg is the same distance of a jab where I can just touch you with my hand like this. That's how far you want to be. People think it's like real far away. I mean, I guess if you're really good, it can be, but that's typically the more appropriate distance. But if I'm jabbing you and I'm putting it on you with the jab, you're constantly kind of getting not only battered, but I'm setting the range on this, and you really can't get under it. And he was really good about jabbing to the chest at times, too. So this also played a role in just how many Merab could even attempt, much less did the attempt work. Either way, this is still a very high amount of grappling being thrown at someone.
Were you surprised to see Petr take him down like that?
No, I was. Well, if you mean 5 times out of 9, yes, I was surprised to see that. But that is easily that performance by Yan is easily one of the better title fight winning performances I've ever seen. I'm not saying it's number 1 per se, but it's on the short list because of how comprehensively good that it was. He denied the takedown. If you got it, only 2 times. He's right back up. Meanwhile, he's going to take you down more than 2x the number of times that he got you down, and it's going to be for longer. I mean, it's just, it's a level of he was ready. And the truth is, like with Merab having such a long reign, A, there's a lot of tape on him, and B, Yan has probably been trying to get better for just as a general proposition, but I have a feeling that those guys were training for Merab a long time before they got the call up, like since the loss. You know what I mean? Like I think Yan had his eye on this, being like, there is only one way back to this title, and it's through this guy. So I'm just going to invest all of my time, or a good portion of it anyway, into how do I beat that. And the truth is, if you get ready to fight Merab and you get good at it, I mean, you're going to beat just about anybody.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, one of the points that you made in one of your videos that I loved was your comparison between the road that it took Yan to get back to the title shot against Merab and get the rematch, and you compared it to the way that Sean O'Malley was fast-tracked, and how Sean never really got that chance to kind of develop as a fighter.
It's a pretty simple insight, which is I've just noticed over time that when someone loses a UFC title, that tends to be it. They tend to never get it back. Now, there can be occasions where they do, but the normal way that works is typically it's like an automatic rematch, or they're injured and then when they come back, so there might be like 9 months or something, but they didn't have a bunch of fights in the middle. It's all pretty quickly. But the longer that if you get separated from the title, which obviously he lost, and that Yan did, and then time expands, or I should say expires anyway, like the more time that goes on, the less the chance there is of ever getting it back. There can be other cases where Carla Esparza had the longest, but her title, I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. This is this is the anomaly of all anomalies. It's not a very interesting or noteworthy performance or achievement, to be in my mind. The other one was Randy Couture, but he's moving up weight classes and whatnot. So it's very, very, and he retired, and there's a whole big difference. So really, Yan kind of stands apart in this way. But the reason why is he lost the title, like 28 to 32 years of age it's as a loose way of understanding someone's athletic prime in MMA, tends to be around that. Could be a little earlier, could be a little later, but it tends to be right around that. Yan lost the belt at 29, smack in the middle of his prime, and had some difficulties. Lost 3 in a row. Like, this is a real sort of setback. You can say they shouldn't have lost 3 because he should have beaten O'Malley and he got screwed. Whatever, he lost 3.
It is what it is, yeah.
It is what it is. But he spent that time still within his athletic prime, skill developing. So by the time he comes back to meet Merab, he's 32. He is still in his prime. And as a consequence, he's now got all this experience and all of these learning lessons, and he doesn't have to make a trade-off in his physical vitality. That's just a very unusual path. And again, Merab was trying to do the impossible against a guy like that. It's tough, man. That's a tough thing to do.
Fair play to him. But that's what kind of makes it so fascinating to see the third fight, the trilogy between them, which I hope is going to happen next. How do you kind of see it playing out early, from looking from here? Like,
I just feel like if you're Merab, you have to do Merab things, which is, you have to make him labor, and you cannot be backed up. These are just absolutely foundational ways. Like, just think about it. Is Merab going to win a slugging contest with Yan? Maybe, but probably not likely, right? Is he going to submit him from the back? Unlikely. And Yan is squirmy, super squirmy underneath. You need to be able to have him more defensively reacting. And that was a big, if you go back and look at the first fight, a lot of times what you'll see is Yan cover his head in his hand and bring his knee up to his elbow and kind of like this. And there's literally 2 different moments in the first fight where Merab sees this and then just grabs behind the leg and then like puts his hand on the back of the neck and then just tilts him over because he's already kind of crouched up like that. And he got rid of that completely. I mean, it's in the second fight, it's such a different way to go about having to get someone. You got to get that guy reacting. Is that more body work? Is it more pressured feinting? I don't think Merab does. Merab does a little bit of feinting like this, he does that, but it's not a very sophisticated game. But you'll notice that Yan got right up in his face and was kind of having these like jagged, quick feints, and it was having Merab was kind of like looking at it, and then he's the one acting defensively. You have to completely take that away, and these are different ways you can do it, obviously. But if you don't win that, but this is what I mean. Like, dude, Yan went right in his face. You cannot. It's that. Sorry to say, that fight could be, you could argue 5-0 Yan. You could argue that.
Yeah.
And so as a consequence, when you lose like that, it's really important to be like, he had your number. He had your number. At least that, not permanently, but he had your number that night. You have to take away his ability to dictate terms. It's non-negotiable.
How likely is it that Merab does regain his title?
As a general proposition, what I always tell people is the fighter who wins the second fight more commonly wins the third as well, especially when there's great distance in time between the first and second fight, and then there's not a lot of distance between the second and third. This stands to reason, obviously. So I'm going to say, based on history, I'm going to favor Yan, but I clearly it doesn't take a genius to say this is a very winnable fight for Merab. I don't think a reconstituted Merab who's not absolutely battered by a weight cut and or lingering injuries or whatever. I expect a stronger performance. And, you know, again, you can agree or disagree. He did win 2 of the rounds on at least one judge's scorecard. So could he win? You know, how much more does he have to win to get a split decision?
Yeah.
It's within the realm of possibility for sure.
Anyways, we're in for the treat next year for sure, and I can't wait. I just hope that they make this fight, because I think with Merab and the amount of work that he put in, and, you know, how he stood by the company, I think he kind of does deserve that trilogy. Yes,
he'll get it. But he needs to take time and be fully ready, because you can't mess this up.
Yeah. Well, let's see. 2026, who knows? Another thing actually in 2026 that I'm really looking forward to, and I'm very sad that we didn't get to see this year, is Ilia Topuria inside that cage more. Because that performance against Charles Oliveira, I mean, that felt very special. I don't know how you kind of, what were your emotions about that fight?
I thought he would win, but I thought he'd have to work for it, and he just bulldozed him. I mean, I don't know how else you want to describe that. Like he was like, I'm going to knock him out in the first round, and exactly the way that he. You know, it's very rare this is why McGregor got famous. It's very rare that someone can call their shots in MMA and then, you know, it works out the way that they said, but it's exactly what happened. Charles is beloved, and there were reasons why that fight went the way that it did, but that is, you know, up a weight class power. I mean, it's insane. Ilia is arguably pound for pound the best puncher in MMA. He might be the best puncher. He's a dynamic puncher, and he can. I mean, the measure for how good your power is not necessarily how many stoppages you get, although that's obviously a part of it. It's like, can it sit someone down? Can it change around instantly? Do you have fight stopping power? Like, these are the kinds of things you have to ask, and he has all of it.
Yeah, full package. So that's why, like, I think he's one of the most talented guys, and I'm not saying that because he's Georgian. Obviously, like, I don't care like about his nationality or something, but I just think that he's one of the most talented guys that we've lately seen kind of enter the space, and he's been on this rise, which is kind of coming to a halt at some point right now. And what do you make out of about this whole situation with the lightweight and the stuff with Ilia's life? I mean, how much do you think it will affect him, or can it?
I think it can be devastating if he lets it. In terms of understanding the nature of what is going on in his life, I am at the mercy of what details are public, which is to say at this point, not encouraging, but not definitive. I don't know what the truth is, so I don't have any opinion about the adjudication of dispute between he and his ex-wife. But the reality is, on the one hand, a guy who's that good and who works that hard, you probably would say, I think correctly, that they can, whatever they lose in time, they can just make up for, at least in some capacity, right? They're not going to be totally rusty. The thing I would just caution it against, though, is that, like, you know, these guys, these fighters, man, they live and die in their own minds. It is, I cannot tell you, you can get a guy who's got the best physical makeup, but if his mental game is not as ironclad as it needs to be, then they won't achieve, and they certainly won't maximize their achievements. Now, it has been my observation that Ilia is probably as close to bulletproof in his mind as he needs to be in order to pursue this kind of a career and then achieve at this level that he has. Like, he seems very strong-willed, but if your kids get taken from you, or you just, you know, one more time, he lives in Spain, and the Spanish tabloid culture is going to probably eat him alive, right? I mean, it's just the way that it goes over there. These can be, in separating from your partner, these can be like insanely disruptive events to your life. They can change your focus. They can change your motivation. They can change an enormous amount about you. So Ilia is the kind of guy that looks to me has the athletic profile to be as minimally bothered by these kinds of factors as one athlete could be. On the other hand, I don't think it's wise to sleep on this, like what it could mean. To me, I'll answer the saying this way. Do I think it's a real factor in how I'm going to handicap his next fight? Yes. Yeah. I mean, well, it depends if he comes right back or something, but like, especially if like this lingers into third or fourth quarter of 2026, yeah, that becomes a very relevant question at that point.
Have you seen the Netflix documentary on David Beckham?
I've not.
Oh, it's actually very good. But one of the things that they go over in that is their move to Madrid and how that impacted their life, and they are actually talking about the paparazzi and the yellow press and whatever, and how big of an impact it actually had on their family and stuff. And so I think it's a very important point that you're bringing up, and I wish more people kind of kept that in mind.
Not every country's tabloid culture is the same. And Spain's is bad. Like, and you know, he was, you know, always, he's the featured guest of Real Madrid. NFL goes to Madrid and they picked him out to like promote it. And, you know, it's a whole thing. And he's on the cover of Marca and all this stuff. Like, dude, like on the one, when you're on the come up, it's like, oh, that's great. Look how much they've attached to you. And again, I think there's still a lot of people who like him. I'm just saying, as this conflict plays out in this dispute anyways, it plays out in the media, bro, I mean, there's going to be just a lot of unflattering coverage of it, and that does things to people.
I don't know what the situation is like, you know, who's wrong, who's right, and that's not my place to judge in any ways, but I just hope that everyone, including the kids, kind of gets the support that they need. Yeah, but in terms of like MMA and the sports sides of things, we have this Gaethje and Paddy, right? Arman is somehow out of the mix, which is kind of wild to me. But who out of those three, I guess, do you think that Ilia should face? And what are his chances against them?
I think if it's Paddy or Justin, I think Ilia mops him up. I don't think that's very...
Even though Scousers don't get knocked out?
Yeah, well, we'll put that theory to the test, won't we? But Arman's the guy. Arman's the guy. Arman is not just the most deserving guy. He's the most dangerous one, quite visibly on tape. Justin's a dynamic puncher, but he's not like Ilia, nor is he the sort of poised pocket, accurate puncher. And that's the other part about Ilia. He's very accurate as a puncher. Justin has gotten a lot better with that, but he's not Ilia. And also he's much more damage, you know, prone and wary. Paddy's a threat in certain ways, but just not enough for me to really believe he can withstand what Ilia can deliver. Arman's the different one. Arman is the guy who can wrestle in ways that people like always say, well, you know, Ilia has his background as a wrestler and a grappler, which is true. These are true things. But he honestly has not faced a guy who can wrestle the way that Tsaryukin can, which is what I mean by that is the depth of his takedown ability, his dynamic scrambling, and the ability to cover top position and hold it through change of position, right? So like, he's just got a lot of bases covered that understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Ilia can't or won't handle it. I'm saying that is quite clearly the most difficult threat that he faces. Honestly, if he beats Arman, I'm really not sure who he's supposed to fight at 155 anymore, because I don't think those fights are very competitive. But the Arman fight, I do think is very, very, that is, to me, who is his toughest fight? Who is the toughest fight? Okay, Islam is at 170, but like 155 and down, it's Arman Tsaryukin for sure.
Yeah, I actually agree with you 100%. I understand why they were trying to make the Paddy fight. It's such a big, again, rivalry. It's a very sellable fight. Yeah, if you want to open up the Paramount Plus era with a big fight, that's the fight that you book. But as an MMA fan, honestly, yeah, I wanted to see Ilia versus Arman the most, because I want to see him tested. Yeah. Either way, unfortunate that Arman is not getting the shot yet. I understand that, you know, some fans are like saying that, oh well, you know, he didn't show up with for his fight with Islam and stuff, and I get that all. But like, when you think about who's the most dangerous contender in that weight, I mean, it has to be Arman.
This whole thing is kind of weird because everyone just sort of assumes that they know that he missed weight. And it's like, A, he's never said that. B, the UFC's never said that. C, it's actually never been reported that that was the case, not by anybody credible anyway. I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm just saying, what's the basis of evidence for it? We don't really have one. And then they're like, oh, well, he knows what he did. Like Dana White will say, oh, he knows what he did, but also he's not on the outs with us. It's like, let me get this straight. He did do something, but he really didn't. And he is in trouble, but he really isn't. And he knows what he did, and you're mad at him, but you have no problem with him. It's like this weird situation where there's nothing coherently said. It's like they're just giving you total opposites all the time, and it's this like fog, and you can't see exactly what the situation is. I don't know. This doesn't. If he did something wrong, then tell us, and then discipline him or whatever you want to do, so that like, dude, when they send you to jail, they don't just like, yeah, we'll let you out when we feel like it. Like they tell you what the crime is. They tell you how long the sentence is going to be, and then of course, there's ways to minimize that or even add it depending on your behavior. But like what you have a time. They're just like letting you know. Maybe we're mad at him. Maybe we're not. We'll let you know when something changes. That's a weird way to do business.
Yeah, very vague, very. But gun to your head. Do you think that we see Ilia in the maybe first half of next year?
No, no, I don't think you see him until third quarter.
Okay, so late summer.
Yeah, it's summer generally. It could be June. It could be June, but yeah, something like that.
We'll see how that plays out. But another Topuria that we have in the UFC now, who is kind of making waves little by little, I think, is Alexandre, his older brother, which made his long-awaited debut. A lot of people are actually putting a lot of hopes up on him, and I just kind of wanted to hear your take on him and on this whole subject. How do you see his potential? How far can he go? I know it's kind of early to say, but just whatever we can surmise from here now.
The real test about how good someone is, people think it's the fight result. Did they get a knockout? Did they get a sub? And that's one way of measuring it. And it's an important way. It's not a bad way to do it, but it's an incomplete way to do it. Like you have to look at the actual tape itself, and also like who did he fight? He has not. The first guy he fought was not that great. The second guy he fought was actually pretty good. Betsson and both of those went to a decision. Although the Al-Makan fight, which by the way was still a good fight, he was clearly beaten, was a little more competitive than the other one.
Also, if I may add this, Cody, right? Thickness, yeah. He was a very late replacement, so I kind of give him a leeway on that because he got that. He was already in Australia when he got the news that his opponent changed. So yeah.
And people are like, oh, well, that guy wasn't ready for you. It's like, yeah, but then you also weren't ready for them. Sometimes you can get a really good fighter against a late replacement who doesn't seem that good. And then the bout will be oddly competitive. Like the right guy wins, but it's like, well, that wasn't very impressive. But it happens all the time because an A-level fighter can win just kind of figuring it out. But they usually win by the application of what you saw with Yan, which was a very specific game plan, right? So when you change it up, it goes that way. Here's what I'm going to say about the smaller but older Topuria brother, which is that he has a lot of the same things as Ilia does. I mean, you could watch him on tape, and like if you have to rub your glasses for a second, they almost look the same. Great jab, great patience. In fact, I think he's a little too patient, if I'm being honest, because it takes him a little bit of time to get his offense going, whereas Ilia, to me, is patient, but his foot's on the gas a little more. But little Topuria is so well-rounded. I've been very impressed by his grappling overall, offensively and defensively. Like his brother, he does not make hardly any mistakes. They're very, very careful, but punishing fighters who I think the biggest difference is, like, one of the reasons Ilia might be a little bit more willing to exchange is his power is evident. You know what I mean? Like, he touches people and they change. I've not seen that exact same dynamic from Alexandre. Now, again, not saying he can't hurt people or he doesn't. That's not my point. He's got stoppages all over his record. What I'm saying is that to the same level as Ilia, I've not exactly seen that yet. So to me, it's more of he's making smart decisions with the tools that he has available, and some guys are naturally going to be more dynamic finishers as a consequence, and some not. I don't think it's any kind of fatal flaw in his game. I just don't think he's got the same doors opening for him when he exchanges. I mean, he landed on Betsson a lot, and he had the guy hurt, but it feels like if Ilia's got you hurt,
you're probably not coming back from that.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to wake up with smelling salts. It's very different, right? So I've not seen that exactly from Alexandre. I think that what I would say is, does he look like somebody who's going to make some noise in this division? No question in my mind. Exactly how far, it's too early to tell.
Do you reckon they will push him a little quicker than they would a normal contender?
Yeah, he's ready too. 29. He's showing great poise. The interesting part about his game is actually it's kind of funny. Like, it's not showing up well, I mean, he looks great, but it's not like, I don't think his game is maximized over the course of 3. I actually think his game is kind of built for the long haul. It's these 5-round fights you're going to see him in where I actually think that's where he's really going to come to life, in part because he's going to have guys who can push him, but also because he looks like the kind of guy who, like, as the fight goes, it gets worse and worse for these other people in terms of things he takes away. So I actually feel like we haven't even gotten close to his peak yet, and of course we haven't. But yeah, they're going to lean in on that, I suspect, pretty heavily.
The way that the match made for him is a little bit unfortunate because he got 2 pretty tough guys who are also not very known to the casual audience. So I think that maybe if they can give him someone with maybe a bigger name, that he can actually, you know, put on like a masterclass performance, or just make a splash against, right?
They're soft pedaling him off the beginning, but like giving him someone like Beksat Almakan.
Yeah.
This is them being like, okay, let's see how good you are. You know, they're not trying to maximize right away. I think before they push him, they kind of want to see, kick the tires, like take it for a test drive a little bit. Let's put him against somebody who we know is well-rounded and you know, sturdy challenge. And so you have performances like that, and I think then that gives the matchmakers confidence to be like, okay, let's see if we can do something with this. Can
I get your opinion on a crazy idea of mine? What if they give him someone who's also very good, but also is kind of a name like Cody Garbrandt?
It's a fun one. It's a fun one. It's an interesting one because
for as long as it lasts.
Yeah, super chinny, but he's big, powerful. He's athletic, but he's obviously, you know, it's a good test. Yeah, it's a good test for him to see exactly. Yes, that one works. That one works for a few reasons, because it's a big name who's kind of flawed, but still dangerous and kind of fun. So it checks a lot of the boxes. Yeah, no, it's a good idea, actually. It's a good one.
Before I let you go, if you could get one fight, mate, what would you wish for in 2026?
Oh, I'm not even doing this to pander to the Georgians watching. I promise I'm not. It would be Ilia Arman.
Really? So many people would say Ilia Islam. I'm so glad that you didn't say that.
I think that ship has sailed. I think that ship has sailed. I mean, Islam's not going to go back to 55 now. I mean, that's just not going to happen. And they might give him Kamaru, who I think he's going to wipe the floor with. And who knows, maybe one other person. And then Islam honestly might call it a day. Like,
what else are they gonna really, there?
Like, and Ilia has business to attend to in his personal life and at 55.
Yeah.
Forget about it. There was a window to make it, and I think that one's closed.
Yeah. But yeah, that fight with Arman, I think it would be fireworks. Also, there would probably be a lot of shit talking going into it.
An insane amount of shit talking.
Yeah. Yeah, but as far as fights go, I think that's a brilliant fight. Well, Luke Thomas, thank you so very much for doing this. And I honestly, I couldn't think about a better person to kind of sum up this crazy year with. You provided amazing insight. I'm sorry if I kept you a little bit long. You could have been doing anything else, a million different things. You chose to do this, and for that I will forever be grateful, honestly. I hope you have a lovely end to your 2025, and I hope that 2026 is everything that you can dream and more.
Well, I appreciate that. My best to all the people of Georgia watching this, and anybody else on top of that.
I can proudly tell you that you are Georgia's favorite MMA analyst. I don't know if it means anything to you, but
that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, they love you.
The people of Georgia. That's great.
They love you here. Anyways, Luke, thank you again. Thank you so very much. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I hope we get to see you in 2026.
I'm sure you will. Happy New Year.
ეს იყო ჩვენი 2025 წლის შეჯამება ლუკ თომასთან. იმედია ამ ინტერვიუდან ბევრი საინტერესო რამ გაიგეთ. როგორც ყოველთვის, მადლობა რომ გვიყურეთ. გამოიწერეთ არხი და არ გამოტოვოთ კიდევ ბევრი საინტერესო კონტენტი მომავალშიც.